welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wilds is so excited. So all series long, I just want to say this real quick, the Celtics Heat series. You guys know Tyler Herro. I said to Stephanie, I said to my wife, I said, wouldn't it be great if Tyler Herro was the hero? Remember that Bonnie Tyler song, Holding Out for a Hero? Then the team could use that song as their theme song.
I knew it was going to be in the show. I didn't think it would be 8 seconds in. I thought it was going to be like all show. All show, America.
Anyway,
we are going to
what
be
is my point,
your
America?
must-see location for puns.
My point is, like Bonnie Tyler's song, we held out for a hero. And we got one. Celtics Heat Game 4. Tyler Herro played hero. That is a true story, though no one will believe it. He scored a Heat rookie record, 37 points last night, passing Heat legend Dwayne Wade for that honor. He was hitting everything for Miami. Meanwhile, for Boston, it doesn't help that Jason Tatum scored 0 points in the whole first half. He put in 28 in the second half. By then, this game was it was too late. He'd get the win thanks to the red-hot rookie Tyler holding out for a hero. D-Wade taking to Twitter after the game, saying his own rookie scoring mark was a great record while it lasted. Here's Jimmy Butler now on rookie Tyler Herro's big night.
I mean, that's my guy. I think the world knows that. I think so highly of him, man. And it just goes to show the type of guy that he is. You know, he's always willing to give the credit to somebody else. But he's done this. He's worked at it. He studied the film. He's the one that's in the gym. He's the one that's communicating like a vet to the vets. He did that. I didn't do it. Nobody else did it. Spo didn't do it. We pump him with a lot of confidence. And I think he pumped himself with twice as much confidence. He goes out there and he performs, man. And that's on him. That's on nobody else. He's done that.
All right, Nick, let's start with you. The second line is, I'm holding out for Herro till the end of the night. That's the second line, and it worked perfectly. Tyler Herro till the end of the night is the team's hero. How impressed were you with Tyler Herro last night?
All right, Wilds, you laughing and Wilds laughing genuinely and Brandon laughing politely is
Jenna,
only
like,
encouraging
put as many puns as possible.
What's the song?
Who's the artist? Who's the artist?
Nothing.
Kevin said
we have to talk about the game.
Tyler Herro puns. Okay, go.
We have to talk about the game. We have to talk about the game. I will stay as on brand as Jenna with archaic 80s musical references by giving you some statistical history for what we just saw.
Okay.
Quite simply, guys, that never happens. What we saw last night, a rookie this deep into the playoffs having that type of game never happens. In the last 50 years, the only rookies to do something like this deep into the playoffs are the third and fourth greatest players of all time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson. The most recent instance like this where a rookie this deep into the playoffs had a game similar to this was the iconic Andrew Toney game in the early 80s with the Sixers. You never see rookies in the playoffs, deep into series, or deep into the playoffs, I should say, do what Tyler Herro did. And this is the first instance where I think what we are seeing real effects of the quarantine. And by that, I mean this. Is Tyler Herro still actually a rookie? And I think you can tell which guys in the 4 months away from their teams got in the lab and said, you know what? I'm going to come back for the postseason run as a second-year player. Because that's what we saw last night. We saw a guy who clearly was another late lottery or mid-round steal by the Miami Heat. They got Bam Adebayo around this draft spot. Then they got Tyler Herro around this draft spot, both from Kentucky. And a guy who made, because he did play well early in the season, but there's a reason he wasn't even first-team all-rookie. And then he comes out and he has the game of his life, Brandon, in the most critical game of his life up to this point. It was spectacular, it was borderline unprecedented, and it presents major problems for the Los Angeles Lakers when these two teams end up meeting in the NBA Finals, Brandon.
Yeah, I thought it was impressive as well. you said something interesting. There's three types of rookies, right? You're breaking down, it's never been done before. When you go back 50 years, you just don't see this from rookies. Yeah. But when you look at the locker room, there's three types. There's one rookie where they can't get out of their own way, and you got to treat them with tough love. That's how you approach those guys, right? You want to help them mature, and you want to start that process as fast as possible. And then the second rookie is the guy that just really can't help you. So he just stands in the side of the locker room, and you really don't talk to him as much. And then there's a guy like Herro, where he comes in right away. He earns the trust and the confidence of your squad. You heard Jimmy Butler say it. Like look, this is my guy. We love him. He's done the work. So you can tell that he was that guy that came in right away, earned the trust of his locker room, earned the trust of his coaches, and we're seeing it develop throughout this series. But you're also, if you look at it throughout the entire play in the bubble, this has been a guy that's taken big shots and big moments. And it hasn't always panned out well for him. He hasn't always hit the big shot. But what's interesting is if you look at the end of the half, and who's taking big shots? If you look at the end of games when there's less than 4 minutes to go and it's within 3 or 4 points, who's taking those shots? It's Tyler Herro. And if you're really watching it, you're like, well, isn't that Jay Crowder's shot? Isn't that Butler's shot? Isn't that Dragic's shot? But it's this guy that's standing up in those moments saying, I can take this pull-up three. So Tyler Herro was somebody that I've been watching throughout this play in this bubble, in this restart, because of his confidence and his swagger. We're seeing this guy stand up in big moments time after time after time. And last night was just a perfect example of a guy just sticking to the process and finally finding the bottom of the net. So I think it was impressive, Wilds. I'm not surprised. I think there's people in Miami that was shocked that they took them at 13, but no one's surprised to see him develop the way he has in a bubble.
Yeah. Nick, there's a Foo Fighters song called, lyrics go like, there goes my hero. Why is he on second team All-NBA and not first team? And it's because they just vote on it as a regular season award. And no, it is. It's in the album cut. You might just be listening to the single. In any event. Nick, do you think, and I know you're a fledgling NBA voter, do you think this exposes just a flaw in voting for the all-rookie team? Because we're going to look back on this, and who knows how far the Heat will go, probably defeat the Lakers. But you're going to look back and be like, oh, he didn't make first-team all-rookie because it's a regular season award. I'm just not into...
No, I mean,
the more we see about these awards, the more I don't want them to be regular season awards. I don't want it to be, though.
All these are regular season awards. You could create a new postseason, kind of like player of the postseason instead of just finals MVP. But these are regular season awards, and they should be regular season awards. But it speaks to, Jenna, the improvement of Tyler Herro. This is a guy who never scored 30 points at Kentucky. Now, he's only there for 1 year. This is the most points he's scored since he was busting heads in high school, and he did it in Game 4 of the conference finals. He was spectacular.
And then, of course, the other story last night was Jason Tatum going scoreless in the first half. We will talk about that throughout the morning. But again, Miami taking a commanding 3-1 series lead in the Eastern Conference Finals last night. Still to come this morning, our other big story. We're learning more why the Patriots may have been right to make a quarterback change after last season. It's a great story. It is next. It is First Things First. Welcome to Club Shay Shay. Join Shannon Sharp on his new podcast where he welcomes the biggest names, obviously, in sports and entertainment like only Shannon can. Serving up episodes every Tuesday. It's available on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, time now for Four Things First.
So good.
Collection of things we saw, we loved. And my friend Brandon, you loved Tyler Herro last night. I won't sing.
Yeah, and I've been in love with them. Go back to September 8th when they're playing against the Bucks. He made my Four Things First back then. And this is another moment for this kid. Look at him blowing kisses. Who is he blowing kisses to? The bench? There's nobody in the stands. I love this kid.
I think his
so
family
much confidence, so much swagger. Family section. Oh,
maybe his friend.
Okay, let's stay away from that
one. He's got a girlfriend with him in the bubble.
Look, little Cleveland crush for Jordan Luplow.
Game winner for Jordan Luplow here. Here's what I like about this. There's two types of celebrations, and you got to kind of decide who you want to be if you become a professional athlete. You can be the happy celebrator, or you can be the mean, mad celebrator. Jordan here goes with the mad celebrator. I call it the electric guitar type of celebration. You play electric guitar, you're like, that was awesome. Now I'm going to smash it. Thanks, Bat. Get out of here. So I like angry celebrations. If I make a good point, expect me to throw my phone across the room.
You'll never do that. Nick, KG with a message for LeBron fans that caught your attention. Take a listen to this.
For all you LeBron lovers who don't know, I get it. You're defending it. You love LeBron. I got it. When we formed in Boston, you could never get past that. So that's why I say, when he took the jersey off in 2010, he buried that jersey under the TD Bank Arena. Okay? That 23 Bron jersey was buried under the Garden.
All right, so a couple things here from KG, who I love. He's right that figuratively that jersey was buried under the Garden. And then in 2012, LeBron came back to the Garden, had the single greatest game of his life, the 45-15-5, and ended the Big Three run in Boston forever. Then stole Ray Allen from you. You guys still aren't over that. Paul Pierce still on TV in his feelings. And sad to hear KG's also in his feelings. The other part of that quote that's very interesting was, if you heard it, he goes, when we formed up, and then he stopped. When you formed what, KG? When you guys formed the original Big Three? When that era of guys who always wanted to compete against each other but couldn't actually win on their own had to all come together thanks to Kevin McHale giving Danny Ainge you for Al Jefferson and a bag of groceries? That's what you were trying to say there, but you caught yourself. So I'm always here to help out KG, the 24th greatest player ever, to remind him exactly how this all happened. But he's right. They beat LeBron. LeBron then came back, got that jersey back, and shut down TD Garden. That happened too.
Great history lesson. All right, moving on. Tampa Bay clinched the AL East last night. The same AL East.
Oh, that's nice.
That has the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox, that AL East. But when you do it at Citi Field and nobody's in the stands, you got a BYOC, you got to bring your own confetti. I covered this team for years. There's nowhere, there's like, I know there's a CVS on the back. There's a Staples also. I'm thinking that's the only place. But if you're going to BYOC, you have to BYOC. If you bring your own confetti, you have to bring your own cleanup crew. So pitcher Charlie Morton said, I shall do this, raised his hands. But here's my only issue. He's using a push broom to pull the confetti in. Obviously, he has never cleaned confetti from a visitor's clubhouse at Citi Field. I mean, that's obvious right there. But congratulations to Tampa Bay. You have takes. Of course you do. I mean, I do this. That's how I knew it was a push broom. Let's talk some Patriots before I sing or we get to broom takes. There is no doubt, gentlemen, Cam Newton has met or exceeded nearly every expectation in New England so far this season. You know who agrees with me? N'Keal Harry, the Patriots wide receiver who has now played with both Cam and Brady, said this yesterday, comparing the two quarterbacks, that it's two very different situations. Oh, I'd say, N'Keal, get this, in 7 games last year, N'Keal Harry had 12 catches for 105 yards. Through 2 games this year, 13 for 111. More catches, more yards in only 2 games. So, Brandon, let's kick off the conversation with you. Is Cam Newton proving the Patriots made the right decision moving on from Tom Brady?
No way. I mean, come on. Who would have thought, like, you know, Cam Newton would be sitting there for $1 million. Other teams would pass on him and won't offer him $5 million, $6 million, $7 million. Did you think that the plan really was to go from the GOAT to Jarrett Stidham? Come on, this was a bad decision, and it's turning out to be a good bet. That's all this is. Tom Brady is the GOAT. You don't go away from quarterbacks like that. You know, franchise quarterbacks, all-time NFL players. You know, you go to the Green Bay Packers. That was a good situation because they had Aaron Rodgers sitting on the bench. They didn't have anybody sitting on the bench to pass the ball to. So I don't like the decision. I thought it was a terrible decision, maybe because it's of my past and having 18 different quarterbacks. But when you have a guy that put 6 rings on your finger, when you have a guy that delivered the Lombardi Trophy that many times, you don't just walk away. That's a guy, to me, that should have told the team when he was ready to leave. So I don't like the decision. It was just a good bet that's turning out to work out for the Patriots.
But it did work out. And Brandon, Cam's better than Brady.
It's working out.
Like there's no denying that at this point. This Patriots fans got mad at me when I was defending them this summer, saying they got better at the most important position. And we can show it. Cam has been demonstrably and obviously better than Brady thus far this season. If we want to put the numbers up there, I mean, in every category, plus Cam leads the league in rushing touchdowns. And that's with those alleged horrible weapons that Brady had last year. But it's more than just this season. Let's show their last 18 games. That includes, by the way, a half dozen games that Cam played with a ruined shoulder. He's better than Brady over that stretch as well. So it might have been a risky play by Belichick that they might be left without a chair. What, Wilds? Those are the numbers. Cam has been better than Tom Brady, not just this year, but over the last few years. What? Go ahead, tell me. Tell me where I'm wrong. What am I missing?
I mean, he didn't win any games last year. I don't like that stat because you're like got me in a vice. I got old Tom Brady that I root for, and I got new Cam. You're mixing them up. You're squeezing your old buddy KW. I don't know how to respond to that.
Well,
I got to defend the ghost of Tom Brady, but I want to defend.
Can I help you real quick before you go? Can I help you since you said I have you in a vice? You could simply just say, "Damn, Nick, great point. I guess you were right all along." That's always a card you could play. Like, feel free. The vice loosens. You end up being on the right side of the argument. Like, it's always available to you, just so you know. But go ahead. I mean, it's between your favorite player ever and your favorite current player. So now you must choose. You must decide.
Sure. Well, no, I'm a Cam guy. I live in the moment. The past is the past. I'm moving forward. Brandon, you know what I didn't like last year? I hated it. I hated the weapons talk. It drove me crazy, and I thought that it was low-key throwing everybody else under the bus. And Cam, the Boston media, put the same piece of red meat out there for Cam, and Cam answered it 100% differently. And I'll read the quote to you. And as a wide receiver, I think that you would like this. He said, Cam Newton, if the Pats have enough wide receiver talent. Man, I'll say this. The answers are in that locker room, simple and plain. And now this is where it gets great. We got Little Bud, we got Doughboy, not from Boys in the Hood. Simple and plain. Oh, no, Highway 11, my terms. We're good to go. Let me rewind that. We have Demary Bird, N'Keal Harry, Julian Edelman, and Jacoby Myers. So I think that the leadership that he is providing goes even beyond Nick's stats, Brandon, because it felt like Tom Brady was done with it. He was kind of pouting about the whole Antonio Brown thing, which was just bizarre and weird. I'm pro Cam. I think he's doing a fantastic job, and I'd much rather have him right now than Tom Brady.
Yeah, there's definitely a debate out there, and it seems to happen every other year with Tom Brady and the Patriots. Does Tom have weapons? You know, and it's Tom doing it himself. But when you really look at it, Tom's always had weapons. Edelman, you go back to Welker, Randy Moss, and a stable of running backs. So I don't like that discussion. But however, when you look at last year, he had no weapons. I'm sorry, Tom is right. You know, like, you know, if I'm in Tom's shoes, you got to think about it. You know you only have a couple years left. Give me something to work with. What did he have last year to work with outside of Edelman?
What do you want?
What
Nothing.
Cam has this year.
Because if you had...
Well, exactly
this
what
guy,
Cam
he
has.
wants
And
another
Cam's
Super
playing
Bowl.
Great.
Yeah, but Cam presents another element. Cam is getting it done with his legs, and Cam brings that element to the defense where it's like, we have to prepare for that. So it's about matchups. It's about this situation. You can't compare the two. And the wide receiver city, you just can't do it.
So it's Bill Belichick's fault that Tom Brady can't run faster than my
When
my
you have the
gardening
best
neighbor?
when you have the best quarterback, forget the best quarterback, the best player to ever strap up. When you have the best player and you know he only has a couple years left, give him what he needs. Like, why did it take so long to go try to get an Antonio Brown? Like, why did it take so long? You have one guy. You had many opportunities to get it done. Now, yeah, they drafted the kid in the first round, but you know coming in, there's only a few guys that can go from college to the NFL and truly make an impact.
Let me present Brandon a hypothesis here, that Bill Belichick did present Tom Brady with what he needed to try to get Super Bowl #7, which was the far and away best defense in football, because Brady's skills had deteriorated to a point that even with elite offensive talent, he was going to be a middling quarterback, as evidenced by what's happening right now. You want him to go get Mike Evans? You want him to go get Chris Godwin? You want him to bring Gronk back? O.J. Howard? No problem. There's a 79 quarterback rating for you, waiting for you, and interceptions in every game.
We just had that discussion yesterday.
No problem.
But didn't we just had that discussion yesterday about what's going on in Tampa Bay and what happened last game, where we talked about the 7 drop balls and how the stat sheet could look totally different if the wide receivers did what they were supposed to do? So we're not having that discussion. Tom Brady did what he was supposed to do. He could have easily threw for 350 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Maybe he doesn't throw a very catchable ball anymore. Listen, you're the wide receiver. You tell me. Maybe it's spinning a little funny. I don't know. I can't judge those types of things. All I do know is it was all on the weapons last year. He's got great weapons this year. And Cam, by the way, with those same weapons, Julian Edelman, Jenna, just had the biggest game of his life. Julian Edelman, a year older, just had the biggest receiving game of his whole life with his second game with Cam, despite dropping the game-winning touchdown.
All right, well, here's what I know. We have the same conversation about Aaron Rodgers all the time. The guy has no weapons. He actually did pretty well last season. Big game for the Patriots, by the way, this weekend. They host the red-hot 2-0 Raiders. That's the narrative. That is the narrative that Aaron Rodgers is out there on his own.
He has the best receiver in the league, possibly.
Let's move on. Dak Prescott playing a big one on Sunday, going up against the early front-runner for MVP and Russell Wilson. How did the Cowboys come out of Seattle with a win? We will talk about that next on First Things First. All right, let's shift gears. Talk about a different game. Cowboys, Seahawks this weekend. Both teams coming in off big wins. For Dallas, boy, it took everything out of them. They had to rally hard to beat Atlanta with their onside kick heroics. While Seattle, remember, they stuffed Cam at the goal line. So that sets us up for a shootout between Super Bowl contenders, perhaps. Brandon, you think Dak Prescott keeps pace with Russell Wilson, maybe comes out of Seattle with a win this weekend?
Yeah, Jenny, you took the words out of my mouth. It's definitely going to be a shootout. He can keep up with Russell Wilson. You know, I picked Russ to win the MVP. A lot of people are on that bandwagon now. I also picked the Seattle Seahawks to win the Super Bowl.
There we go.
But when you, no, I didn't start. I wouldn't say I started it, but you know, I was early. I was early to the party.
No,
but look, when you look at this,
you started
Dak Prescott really, he's playing against the same defense. Against the Falcons, he went for 450. He threw for 450 yards. He ran for 3. He threw for 1. He looked outstanding. He was amazing. All right, so now you're looking at a banged-up Seattle defense. They can't get pressure on the quarterback. You just lose Bruce Irvin to a knee. You lose Blair to a knee. So I think this is going to be a shootout, but I'm definitely going to give the edge to the Seattle Seahawks. I got to go with my guy over there, but Dak Prescott will look good, and you got to look at also those 3 receivers. I mean, you got a tight end and 2 you can throw in there as well. You got 4 guys that can catch the ball, that can go over 100 yards any given game. So it's going to be a great game to watch.
So I'm going to approach this from a slightly different angle. Listen, I think Dak's going to be able to move the football. We just saw Cam throw for nearly 400 yards on the Seattle defense. It is not the Seattle defense of old. And I do think it's instructive. If you remember last year, Earl Thomas joins the Ravens. We didn't really see the full-blown Earl Thomas until midway late in the season. I think the same thing might be happening with Jamal Adams, that it's going to take some time for that position, that level of player, to truly have his impact felt on a defense for Seattle's secondary to improve. But the question I want to ask is, what can we expect this Dallas defense to do? Because through 2 weeks, this Dallas defense has been pathetic. Through 2 weeks, this Dallas defense has 2 sacks, 5 tackles for loss total, 1 interception, no forced fumbles. And a massive issue and part of that is, and for some reason, we talk Cowboys more than any team in the league, yet this player is the subject of no scrutiny. DeMarcus Lawrence is one of the highest paid players in the league. Since he signed that deal for $21 million a season, he has played 18 games at defensive end. He has 5 sacks. The other defensive linemen who make that type of money are Joey Bosa, Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, Frank Clark, Chris Jones, DeForest Buckner, all super impactful on a every game basis. DeMarcus Lawrence out there playing like a replacement level player for the last season plus. The Cowboys can get no pressure wilds. They can't slow anyone down. And we just always say, what can Dak do? Well, he's got to do a hell of a lot more than he should have to do because the defense can't get him short fields. The defense can't force turnovers. They can't put him in a good spot. Yeah. So I expect Dak to play well wilds, but I expect Russ to cook like we haven't seen him cook yet this year, and he's been cooking all season because the Cowboys aren't going to be able to get any pressure on it.
Yeah, it's going to be the battle of the food analogies. You got Russ can let Russ cook versus Zeke's feed me. No truth to the rumor that Russell Wilson also got a let Russ cook tattoo on his belly. That is false. That is an internet. That is an internet rumor. Look, Russ has got the Seahawks offense put up 73 points. They've got 9 passing touchdowns. And get this, that's as many as the Chargers, the Panthers, the Patriots, the Giants, the Jets, and the Texans combined. So Russ is going to cook. And against that defense, Nick, you said it, 2 sacks. They've only got 14 pressures. Nick, Brandon, your guys, the Steelers, have 40 pressures. And then they're middle of the road on hurries, too. Steelers are number 1. The Panthers, I think, are the last place with 1. They're pressuring about 9%. So I think Russ is going to cook. And I don't think Mike McCarthy can depend on Seattle's special teams to not know the rules or just not decide to grab a special teams onside kick, Brandon. I think it's going to be a big Seattle win.
Yeah, I mean, you really got to look at it, right? It comes down to... It's just going to come down to matchups, Jenna. You know, it's going to be 2 offensive of powerhouses going after it, getting after it, and you can't expect the Dallas Cowboys to come into this game turning over the ball again. They had 3 turnovers to start this game. You lose those games. I don't think that's going to happen. That's something that doesn't really happen. You know, in the first quarter, have 3 turnovers, 3 fumbles. I just don't expect that. So I do think this is going to be a shootout. It's going to come down to situational football. Who's going to have the ball last? Who's going to operate their 2-minute drill better? That's what it's going to come down to. It's going to be an exciting game. I'm interested to see how Dak Prescott get other guys involved because he has 4 pass catchers that can go over 100 and impact the game any given Sunday, any given moment.
Brandon, if it comes down to the 2-minute game, Dallas will lose. There is no player in the entire conference better than Russell Wilson in those situations.
That's true.
What has been impressive about letting Russ cook is Pete Carroll seemed to rely on that like superpower Russ has too much over the last few years, almost wanting to get, it would appear, in these late close games, then let Russ pull it out of the fire. Obviously, week 2 was late and close because Seattle couldn't get that last first down, but week 1, they were never in that position. If you're Dallas, you got to try to run away and hide, and Jenna, the best argument for their ability to do that is that they did just score 40 points despite their first 5 possessions of a game going 3 and out, fumble, missed fake punt, fumble. So, like, they scored 40 points despite being blanked in the first quarter, Jenna. So this is an explosive offense, but I don't think they can get in a close. If they're in a close game with Seattle, that favors Seattle heavily.
But, Brandon, that's my question. If you're the Dallas Cowboys and you're coming off a game like you just had last weekend, is it momentous that, look, we were down and we played terribly and we were able to claw our way back in this despite the fact that Atlanta had their own issues? Or do you have to look at yourself and say, we're not that great? Like, we put ourselves in that position and got really lucky. Like, what's the mindset heading into this weekend against Seattle? Because I still don't know if I have a firm grip on who this Dallas Cowboys team really is.
I mean, sometimes we run from reality in the NFL. I think there's only a handful of teams that they don't have a chance. But when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, this is a team that can contend. I think there's a lot of people out there before the season said the Dallas Cowboys could come out of the NFC. And we're hearing this from so many different experts, whether it's Ray Lewis, you're hearing, yeah, you're one of them, Phil Simms, a lot of guys like this Dallas Cowboys team. So when you look at the start of this year, I think there's people that's looking at no preseason, no offseason. Let's correct our mistakes so we can be in better position. You're hearing that from the Saints. The Saints said the same thing. Drew Brees, like, oh, I feel borderline great. Like, guys really believe that if we tweak these little things, that we can shore up our pass rush, if we can pass protection, if we can get some more pressure on the quarterback, we will have a chance to be the team that we thought we could be. So I think the locker room is more optimistic than not, you know?
Sure. All right, well, it's America's Game of the Week. It is Sunday on Fox. Looking forward to it. To the court now. Lakers got slightly derailed the other night by Denver. Can they get back on track tonight? Game 4. Talk about it next. First things first. Welcome back. We're talking Lakers-Nuggets Game 4. Our guy Nick made a good point yesterday. If we predicted, like most people did, that the Lakers would win in 5 or, say, 6, it means they have to lose a game, which they did the other night to Denver, to which we wondered, can the Nuggets do it again and again, and should we be concerned? The always brilliant Chris Broussard joins us now to preview tonight's Game 4. Broussard, could the Nuggets gain control of the series with a win tonight?
Gain control, no. Look, the Lakers can gain control by winning and going up 3-1, but the Nuggets cannot gain control by tying the series at 2. Look, I get the sexy narrative that probably concocted by Wilds in the pre-show meeting. Hey, if Denver wins tonight, they've won 2 straight. They can. Most people think they've won 3 straight, really. But for Anthony Davis, the Lakers will be rattled. No. We're talking about LeBron James, folks. LeBron James rallied from a 3-1 deficit against a 73-win team. LeBron James came back from a 3-2 deficit against a legendary Boston Celtics team. He is not going to be shook by being tied at 2 with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Wilds, it's a delicious narrative. It's good TV, but no, Denver cannot take control.
And Broussard, you left one out, was down 3-2 against a legendary Spurs team and ended up winning that NBA Finals in 7 games.
Yes.
They were down 3-2 in that series as well. So, listen, I do not believe the Nuggets can gain control of the series with a win tonight. However, and this will shock, I think, everyone on the panel.
Here we go.
I am willing to say this. If the Lakers lose tonight, now, I do not believe they will. I think they will win tonight. But if they lose tonight, tomorrow morning, Jenna, when you ask me, Nick, are you finally nervous? The answer will be yes, because they should not lose tonight.
Oh.
This is a game they absolutely, if they are the team that I believe they have been all year, even though they are playing clearly the second best team in the Western Conference, bar none, this is a game they should win. They should win this game for a number of reasons, but not the least of which is they know they have played really bad basketball for the last 6 quarters. And they did, I don't want to say they got lucky in game 2, but that's a coin flip game. And while, you know, we're kind of going to change hats here for a moment because Broussard was preaching the gospel of LeBron James, I'm going to be somewhat critical or at least observant of something that happened after game 2. You know how we knew LeBron thought this series was over? Because he started talking about the MVP voting. Now, he caught himself, and he was like, listen, I'm totally happy. I'm up 2-0 in the Western Conference Finals. Everything's great. But when LeBron started game 2 with 20 points in the first 18 minutes, and the Lakers were up massive, he was already making NBA Finals plans. That almost cost the Lakers game 2, and then it did cost them, or their overall effort cost them game 3. So I do feel like LeBron has to re-lock in despite having a 30-point triple-double because the Nuggets are not going to be easily dispatched. Now, Brandon, I think the Lakers are going to win tonight, but a loss tonight, if all of a sudden it's a best of 3, then you are an Anthony Davis turned ankle, a Jamal Murray 50-point explosion away from actually being in trouble. So I don't know if the Nuggets would take control of the series, but it would make me, for the first time all year, anxious about the Lakers, almost fait accompli of winning the NBA championship this season, Brandon.
And you should be. And Chris, you need to jump on that as well. Think about what you just said, Nick. You just talked about this guy being distracted and he has to lock back in. What happened to playoff mode LeBron? I thought when LeBron goes to the playoffs, he stops tweeting. He doesn't post on Instagram. Who is this LeBron? Because if you think about it, the same things that you guys are talking about now going into this game, he should have had that same mentality last game. But we didn't see that. And if you change it, like this, our perspective should change because we are Anthony Davis big shot away from saying that the Lakers should be scared because this is a red-hot Nuggets team. Going into this thing, and I said it yesterday, it was, okay, this team is just hot. Murray, who is this guy? Can he do it again? Can he do it again? They're showing us that they're a really good team, and they're one of the premier teams in the NBA. So if they win this game, I don't think they take control. I think they can easily win this series.
So, real quick, because a lot of people, Wilds, have made the point, if not for the Anthony Davis shot, they're down 2-1. For the record, I reject that premise. If the Anthony Davis shot had happened in Game 3 when the series was 1 apiece, then that would be accurate. But the logic of if Anthony Davis misses that shot, the Lakers are down 2-1, presupposes that if Anthony Davis had missed that shot, the Lakers would have played the exact same game they played in Game 3. And they wouldn't have. And more importantly, the Nuggets would have played the exact same game they played in Game 3, which here's the evidence we have of the Nuggets in the bubble. When they are facing elimination, and I would argue being down 2-0 against LeBron and AD is facing elimination, they are spectacular. They are 7-0 Wilds when facing either literal or de facto elimination. They are 2-8 in every other game, which does speak well for the Lakers tonight. But it also speaks to the fact that I don't think they would have won Game 3, certainly the way they did, had they won Game 2, because I think the Lakers would have been far sharper, Wilds.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's why it makes a good argument for Denver. And before I address the Nuggets, Broussard, that's not how I sound. That's a terrible Wilds impression. Is that how I know you can't hear your own voice, but is that how I sound?
Right on the money.
Like, I
thought it was right on the money.
I know Wilds will say. This is my impression of your impression of me. I know Wilds will say this. Broussard. Anyways, this is why this is a win-win. This is a win-win for Denver. If they lose, then they're down 3-1. They win. Yep. And if they win, they win. They literally are in the best spot of any team in the history of sports. They can't go wrong. They lose, they win, they win, they win. It's fantastic. One thing of note, and I know you guys love Anthony Davis. Nick, you were saying he's better than LeBron, and you should go to
no,
not
I didn't say that.
Better than Giannis, and we should fly to Giannis's house and take his MVP away and give it to LeBron, or maybe they slice it down the middle and give it to both of them because they're great. And Broussard, you said Anthony Davis is making the jump to like all-time greatest player, and we should start building multiple statues of him. Then he followed up all of that praise with 2 rebounds. 2 rebounds. And it's not just that he had a bad game. Wasn't great. Paul Millsap doing a great job. AD 5 for 18 when being defended by Paul Millsap, shooting 28%. So maybe it's not that AD just is not showing up. Maybe it's good old Paul Millsap gets his first win over LeBron, gets a little confidence, starts feeling himself, only needs 3 more. And that's not how I sound, Broussard.
It is.
Look,
Go ahead, Broussard.
I understand you guys saying it's a series. Look, I predicted Lakers in 6, so they got to lose 2 games. It would be a series now. There's no question about it. If Denver comes out and wins tonight, it would be a great series. But take control, that's going a little bit too far. And Brandon sounds like you're ready to. Brandon, it sounds like you're ready to say Denver's the better team, like you said about the Clippers. Are you ready to go there? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah, I am ready to go there, and I'm not afraid to say that on national television.
So Denver's
100%.
the better than the Lakers.
Listen, let me tell you why. Let me tell you, I'm saying I will back that up, because when you look at Jokic and how they were able to play him in the regular season, they had 4 guys that can defend him. Now nobody can defend him, because not only can he get his shots off in the paint, but he's also developing this Dirk Nowitzki type shot off of one leg. You can't defend this guy at all. He stepped into his own. And Murray, for the very first time, because you guys know I was cold on Murray. I'm like, I think this is a flash in the pan type talent. He hasn't done it in the regular season. He's been in the league for 4 years. And when you look at Murray, it seems like he has his legs under him, and he's confident to find his shot no matter what. Last series, he had 2 of the best defensive perimeter players in the league guarding him, in Paul George and Kawhi. Who's guarding him now?
Oh, boy.
So for that reason, I do think that they're the better team coming down to matchups. Okay. And now you have Grant, and you have these other guys that can step up and be a difference maker and really add true value. And for that reason, I do think they're the better team.
Okay,
wow. You
so
like
2 things. One is the answer to who's gonna guard him, if need be, a guy who is at this point somehow still, the critical moments, the best perimeter defender in basketball. LeBron James will guard him if you need be. Better than Kawhi and Paul George. Give me a break. But more importantly, let me tell America what, while Brandon was talking, I was seeing. Listen, I think folks know this. I'm a gambler, and back when you could go to casinos, I went to them a lot. And sometimes you're playing blackjack next to a guy, and he is on fire, and you're happy for him. He sat down with $200, and he's all of a sudden got 5,000 in front of him. He can't miss a hand. That was Brandon during the Clippers series. And then he's about to leave, and he turns and he goes, you know what? Screw it. Puts it all on one more hand. And you turn to him and like, no, get up and go. Walk away, man. He's like, nope, and boom. Monkey, 26, you're out, and you walk
isn't that
out
what
feeling
Chris did
terrible.
last series?
Brandon was
Chris
feeling
did that
great.
with the Clippers.
Oh, yeah,
Fun night.
absolutely. And by the way, he went home.
Don't drag me in
Broussard
there.
went home angry. Now you're going to go home angry, and I'm going to be the only person cashing out at the cage at the end of this thing saying these dopes. They had it, and they just wouldn't listen.
Well,
These dopes.
Listen,
That's what
Lakers better hope that 4th quarter Lakers show up tonight and not 1st, 2nd, and 3rd quarter Lakers from Game 3. Chris Broussard, stick around with us. We're going to take a turn now. How do we know that things are different in New England this year? Just ask a wide receiver. We'll explain next. First things first.
Man.
On Sunday, we got a big doubleheader here on Fox. First, the 49ers take on the Giants or other regional action. And then Dak and Zeke lead the Cowboys against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. In America's Game of the Week, check local listings for the games in your area or watch it all on the Fox Sports app. All right, let's talk New England Patriots now. There's no doubt Cam Newton has either met or exceeded nearly every expectation, succeeding Tom Brady this season. You know who probably agrees? N'Keal Harry, the Patriots wide receiver who's played with both quarterbacks, said this yesterday, comparing Brady to Newton. It's 2 very different situations. With that, we are delighted, giddy almost, to welcome in Eric Mangini. Coach, good morning. I will ask you, is Cam Newton proving that the Patriots made the right decision moving on from Tom Brady?
Yeah, I didn't think I'd be saying this, and obviously I was the most skeptical of anybody in terms of how this would work with Cam and Bill and Cam and the Patriot way and being able to adapt to that system. But they absolutely made the right decision, and it's cost them.
Yes, Coach.
Well, when you look at it collectively, not only is it the right decision, but it cost them $500,000 guaranteed. And it cost Tampa Bay $50 million guaranteed, and what that alone is staggering. But then what they've been able to do with them is impressive as well. And I think the biggest point here is not just the player, but the way they're using the player. They are catering the offense to what Cam does really well, and that has produce significant dividends. And you got to give Josh McDaniels a ton of credit. You know, he had Tim Tebow in Denver, so he has a background in using a player. Look, I'm not comparing Cam to Tim Tebow, but a player with a skill set that has some similarities. So they were able to jump into the season with the right approach. And then in Tampa Bay, it's been, we need to fuse our systems. Tom Brady should be doing what Tom Brady does best. He's not an elite athlete. He wins with his mind. And when you have him thinking about hots and sight adjusts and how the offense should work, it slows down his greatest asset. So I think the way they use the players is as important as what the players have contributed to the team.
This is a ridiculous discussion. I mean, we're talking about this as if they traded for Cam Newton. Like, they didn't trade for Cam Newton. Think about what happened, guys. Like, Cam Newton was on the street for the entire pandemic. No team called. No team offered him anything. They got Cam for $1 million. So we're talking as if this was the master plan. Look, let's move on from Tom Brady. Cam Newton's going to be out on the streets. Everybody's going to pass on Cam Newton. We're going to wait. We're going to wait to the very last minute. Then we're going to offer him league minimum. And then it's going to work out great. And he's going to be healthy. No, this was to me was a bad decision. And now it's turned out to be a good bet for them. I think that 100% it's a good bet for them. Then 100%. Cam Newton was sitting on the street. Who are you going to go to? Stidham? Like, was that the answer? Was that really the answer? I know that was the storyline throughout the offseason, but was Stidham really the answer? This was not the Green Bay Packers where they had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers sitting on the sideline. This is a terrible discussion. I think Cam Newton is healthy. I think he's in a perfect situation. I think the Patriots are going to have a great season, but you can't take away from what Tom has delivered. When you have a all-time great quarterback, to me, there's only a few. There's a handful of guys. The Tom Bradys of the world, they write their own ticket out of the city.
Well, that part, I think, Coach, is really interesting. And I want your insight on this, which is forget the just X's and O's football side of it and how the Patriots can best be positioned to succeed this year. What Brandon is communicating is not just, I think it is a player's perspective, but it's also how I think a lot of football fans felt, which is Tom Brady gets to tell you when he's done. If anyone has earned that right, it's the winningest, most accomplished, best player, not just in your franchise's history, but arguably in the history of the entire sport. But for good or for bad, Coach, and tell me if I'm wrong, that is what makes Belichick, is that part of his brain is just disconnected. It doesn't exist. The emotional connection of, well, it might not be for the best, but do I want to be the guy who tells Brady, get out? Maybe Tom's got something left. Do I want to risk the fact? I don't think it's a good bet, but it's a safe bet. Like, it seems to me like a lot of coaches and franchises would have done exactly what Brandon's talking about, particularly when the owner was on the record saying he wants Tom Brady to play his last game with the Patriots. But part of what makes Bill, aside from his horrific choice of sweatshirts, is the fact that he can detach himself emotionally from this, right? Like, and that's been the case with him, for your entire career with him, correct?
You're absolutely correct. And when you look at it, he's always moved on from players early. And that's one of his absolute greatest strengths is his ability to disconnect from the emotional decision-making that goes into it and look at it from a strategic standpoint. And he's moved on from a ton of players. He traded Drew Bledsoe within the division, and Bledsoe had a $100 million contract 2 years before. He traded Mike Vrabel. He got rid of Richard Seymour. He moved on from Ty Law. I mean, you can go down the list of cut Lawyer Malloy, and Lawyer goes to Buffalo. So it's ongoing. And at this point, you could argue that Bill has earned the right to do that as the greatest head coach of all time, just as Tom's has earned some rights as well. The other greatest asset that Bill has is his ability to bring players in that other that are on the scrap heap or that other people don't want, and then not look at it and say, okay, what can he do? But look at it and say, okay, what can he do? Now, that being said, the player has to be willing to do what the Patriots ask him to do. And Cam running the ball 17 times in his first game, to me, is an example of doing what the team wants him to do, coming off an injury. It's not great for Cam's longevity, but it's what was needed to be done to make this marriage work.
Coach, you still think that the Patriots are running Cam too much, that means?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I think actually this past game, they did a much better job of not putting in as many of those positions. And I think what you'll see, and this happens a lot of times with high-value quarterbacks who have the ability to run, is they'll start using that more or primarily in the red zone, on third down, and in 2 minutes. So you use that asset in those critical situations as opposed to using the quarterback-driven runs on 1st and 10 from the -20. But this is also a learning curve for them as well. And I thought Cam threw the ball really well against Seattle.
Yeah,
well,
he did.
So 1 point and then one question for Brandon. The point on the running that Coach, I think, alluded to when he said, you know, running the ball 15 some odd times in game one is not great for Cam's longevity, is I know Cam just gave this interview and did everything other than send a screenshot of his bank balance reminding them he's rich as hell. But I'm sure he'd like to have one more really big contract. And when you're playing for $1 million and in game one, that, you know, you are used like a rental car, that the team doesn't have to worry about the mileage or the dents or the tires. Some guys, I think, would push back on that. And I think that's the point Coach was alluding to. But to Brandon, to your point on the Patriots got lucky, is it at all plausible to you that this was a card the Patriots were always going to play, that they had communicated with Cam's agent, if you have an offer, call us? Like, if Chicago does call you and offer you $10 million, make sure you call us before you sign, and that they were willing to potentially pay more than they ended up having to. But when nobody called Cam, the agent calls, says, listen, we've got no other offers, so what is yours? And that's why they got him for this money, because it felt to me like this was always how it was going to end up. Cam with the Patriots, I didn't think it was going to be for $1 million, but does that change at all? Like, do you think that's plausible, that this was always kind of their plan and they just got him cheaply? Coach is shaking his head. But Brandon, your take.
Yeah, I mean, I think when all this blew up, you know, everyone said, well, this looks like it has Cam Newton all over it, right? But then he went on a podcast with Odell Beckham Jr. and a few other guys. I think it was Todd Gurley. And he talked about his process and how angry he was. Nobody was calling. And when his agent finally called and said, we have a team, and he said it was the Patriots, and he was like, oh, my goodness, are you serious? So, yes, like everybody thought that, but the truth is, no, the Patriots didn't call. They were sitting in the back lurking. Maybe they called at the beginning, but they didn't come in with a strong offer. Cam told us exactly how his process played out. Yes, the Patriots got lucky. I don't think the Patriots went into this offseason or going into the season thinking like, hey, we're going to go win another Super Bowl. I really believe that they felt like, look, if we can find someone great, if not, it's a rebuilt year. Let's see what this kid Stidham does. But Cam Newton was sitting there patiently waiting, and they got him for $1 million. This was a bad decision to me to move away from Tom Brady, because he's an all-time great that can still play with the right pieces around him, but it's turning to be a really good bet for the Patriots.
Yeah, I think, Brandon, you're absolutely right. I didn't agree with the decision to move on from Tom Brady, and they got lucky with Cam Newton. The fact that he signed for $500,000 guaranteed is incredible, but it tells you there wasn't a market, so they got lucky with that aspect. Otherwise, they would have been working from a totally different framework and starting point.
Yep. All right, well, we are 2 weeks in, and already it looks like Bill Belichick has come out ahead. Let's talk some hoops now. Celtics, Miami Heat last night. Miami holding out for a hero till the end of the night. He's got to be strong, and those are the lyrics. Did Jason Tatum, though, cost the Celtics the series? First things first, I would sing, but we'd probably get sued.
Oh, we're going to kill Tatum? That's unfair.
Make sure you check out Thursday Night Football. Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins taking on Gardner Minshew and the Jaguars exclusively on NFL Network. That is tonight. Back to our top story today. Celtics Heat Game 4. They said that a hero could save the Heat, and Tyler Herro was that guy. Had the game of his life last night, scoring a Miami rookie record 37 points. The Heat rode that hot streak all night long, while the Celtics were left to wonder how Jason Tatum could go scoreless in the whole first half. He had 28 in the second, but it wasn't enough. Heat pulled off the Celtics for the win. Heat legend Dwayne Wade taking to Twitter after the game, saying his own rookie scoring mark, quote, was a great record while it lasted. Here's Jimmy Butler on the rookie's big night.
I mean, that's my guy. I think the world knows that. I think so highly of him, man. And it just goes to show the type of guy that he is. You know, he's always willing to give the credit to somebody else. But he's done this. He's worked at it. He studied the film. He's the one that's in the gym. He's the one that's communicating like a vet to the vets. He did that. I didn't do it. Nobody else did it. Spo didn't do it. We pump him with a lot of confidence. And I think he pumped himself with twice as much confidence. He goes out there and he performs, man. And that's on him. That's on nobody else. He's done that.
You love to hear that about a rookie. Broussard back with us. Chris, I'll ask you, how impressive was Tyler Herro last night?
He was incredible because he did it in so many different ways. Obviously, he hit the three-point shot. You saw him in the mid-range. You saw him off the dribble. He moved without the basketball and cut to the basket and scored. He did it in every single way. And look, I'm not ready to push all my chips into the middle of the table like Brandon Marshall, but I am willing to say this. It was the type of performance. It was the type of performance that makes me wonder, okay, is this guy going to be a star? Like, not just a very good player for 10, 11 years, but is he going to be a star? Remember, this is coming off a 22-point Game 3. It's coming off a 16.5-point series average in the first round against Indiana. It's coming off 17.3 points a game, a team high in the 8 seeding games. We may be watching the emergence of a young star, and that's why I was so impressed by what this guy did.
100%.
And Broussard, you can put the historical context on this like I can. This simply does not happen deep into the playoffs by rookies. A little context. In the last decade, the most points a rookie has scored in an NBA Finals game is 10. Jordan Bell did it once. In the last 20 years, prior to Tyler Herro last night, the highest, there was only one conference finals or finals game where a rookie scored more than 25. It was a solitary Boobie Gibson game. This, in the last 50 years, the only rookies to do this deep into the postseason. Not 38 by Donovan Mitchell in round 1, which, while brilliant, it was round 1. It's guys, it's Kareem, Magic, and Herro. That's the list of guys who have put up this type of points this late into the postseason as a rookie. You never see it because typically really good teams are not playing rookies in their rotation. So I just want to throw it back to you, Broussard, for a moment, which is I do wonder if this is part of the oddity of this season. Like, is Tyler Herro really a rookie? And I'm not discrediting anything he did. I hope people understand that. It was unbelievable. But he clearly, we can show his numbers pre-shutdown and post-shutdown. He used those 4 months to improve, to grow his game, to become a more fully rounded player. This is a guy who didn't even make first-team All-Rookie because that's who he was before the shutdown. After the shutdown, he's been that guy, and in the playoffs, he's been even better. So, like Broussard, the context of it is this never happens. And I do wonder if part of it is he had 4 months after kind of learning from his rookie season to get better and then continue his rookie season.
I hear what you're saying because there are people around the league saying this is like a whole different season. It's the second season. So, but I'm not going to go all with that. I do think it's still a rookie year. and he's still a rookie. And what other people are saying in the bubble is what you're seeing is the guys that really love to just ball. Okay? There's nothing else going on. There are some guys in the league that are great players, but they really love all the other stuff, right? The women, the fame, the fortune, all the lifestyle that being an NBA player affords you. None of that exists in the bubble. Okay? We've heard Kevin Durant say nothing's going on. There's no action in the bubble. It is straight basketball. And the guys that love to just ball, go in the gym, shoot by themselves, do whatever they need to do to work on their game are the ones who are excelling. And Tyler Herro's showing you he is that type of guy. I want to say this, too. It shows you a lot about the Heat and why they're this far and one game away from the NBA Finals, one win away. They are a team in every sense of the word. They don't care who gets the credit. To let a rookie take, what did he take, 21 shots last night? A rookie? That's incredible. Jimmy Butler, the leader of the team, really doesn't care if he scores 5 points or he scores 45 points, as long as they win. And that's why, that's the climate for a Tyler Herro to do what he did last night.
Right.
Wilds, I know you caught this. You catch everything. I don't understand how Chris is his unwillingness to push all his chips in when Nick just laid out for you that this hasn't been done in 50 years. So what more do you need to see? See, what's happening is you are looking at the shots that he's making, and I'm looking at the shots that he's taking, right? You just said it. He took 21 shots as a rookie. Go back to the last series, and if you go back to the end of the first half, if you go back to the games where they're within 3 and there's less than 4 minutes to go, who is standing up taking those big shots, those pull-up threes? It's Herro. I talked about him on September 8th, and I said, man, Miami, you found your hero. And it had nothing to do with what he was, with the shot that he was making. It was like, man, there's some confidence here around this kid. This kid is showing swagger. Because as a rookie, to come in the game and take those shots in those moments says a lot about the locker room that you just talked about, but it also says a lot about him. Because when you have confidence and you take those shots, it does so much. And last night we saw how that transition into him finally finding the bottom of the net. They trust this kid. This kid is here. He's here to stay. He's a superstar.
Yeah. Well, he's got crazy confidence. And Brandon, you claimed that you were here. You were early on Tyler Herro. I was early on Tyler Herro, my friend. I've been watching Tyler Herro videos on Ball is Life for 2 years. And every video, I was like, oh, Tyler Herro scoring points? You mean the guy from Ball is Life? And my buddy Donnie Quack put out like, hey, I've been seeing these videos. Guys are talking crazy, 45 points. And basically, it's always the same thing. No one thinks Tyler Herro can play. Tyler Herro lights them up. And Broussard, I've been tricked every one of these videos. I got tricked with Julian Newman. I'm a big Mac McClung fan. I'm watching Georgetown games. Austin Rivers' Ball is Life mixtape. It looks like something out of Jurassic Park, how dominating he is. So the fact that all the other guys change when they get to the league, and Tyler Herro's not. He's still treating this like a Ball is Life mixtape. But Broussard, I'm going to throw it back to you for a second. I'll tell you something Chauncey told me once. He's like, your stars are going to play on the road. The stars are going to be fine. It's the role players that struggle on the road. They'll kind of get in their head. And you said, like, he likes playing in the bubble. We saw guys like playing in the bubble. Do you think that he could actually take a step back when we're in the real world and he has, like, hostile crowds? Is that when we can actually see him, like, sort of the rookiness come out?
I don't think he'll take a step back. I think, like, the experience he's having right now is going to help him and make him a better player in the future. Now, again, I'm not ready to go the Brandon Marshall route and say he's definitely going to be a superstar. I mean, Magic and Kareem, that's the class he's in.
He's going to thrive. When there's 25,000 screaming fans, he's going to thrive. The kid has swagger. The kid has confidence. You put him in the crowd,
Brandon
he's going to go
these
for
bold
50.
proclamations. I love it so much.
No, I don't. No, I don't. But it's the truth. Just pay attention. All you got to do is watch. He's taking.
Oh, when the superstar
you guys aren't paying attention.
Go scoreless in the first half. Hey, the Heat now one win away from a trip to the NBA Finals. We got a quarterback battle this Sunday. Cowboys Seahawks. We'll tell you how Dallas can walk away with a win this weekend. Next, first things first.
Gonna be a good one.
Let's talk about the Cowboys-Seahawks showdown this weekend. Both teams coming in off big wins. For Dallas, boy, they had to rally hard to beat Atlanta with their onside kick heroics, while Seattle stuffed Cam at the goal line. So that sets us up for a shootout Sunday in Seattle between two of the NFC's top Super Bowl contenders. Coach Mangini's back with us. All right, Coach, can Dak Prescott keep pace with Russell Wilson, maybe come out of Seattle with a win this weekend?
Yeah, I'm still working my way through your knowledge of the pushing versus pulling on the broom. I thought that was an excellent breakdown. I'm not sure where I stand on that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
In terms of this matchup, it's look, Dallas should be 0-2. They should be 0-2 and really disappointing start to their season, and the fact that they lucked into the onside kick that they lucked into, and had the benefit of playing Atlanta, which can't seem to get out of its own way at this point, changes things a little bit, but it doesn't change the fundamental problem of I don't see the explosiveness that I think everybody expected from this Dallas offense. It really wasn't there in week one, and it really wasn't there through a large percentage of the game against Atlanta. Can he keep pace with Seattle? Yeah, Seattle's struggling defensively, and if Seattle's going to take the approach that they're going to throw the ball all the time, they're going to expose their defense over and over again, and they can take this approach, and I know that's what Nick wants. He wants them to throw every single down. I don't think it's the right approach for them to take. I think that needs to be balanced, and they need to protect their defense more. So if Seattle does go to a little bit more balanced approach, I think Dallas is going to struggle keeping up with them.
Wow. So, Coach, there's two things there I need to address. Number one, to answer the question, yes, it's going to be a shootout. He can definitely keep up with Russell Wilson because it comes down to matchups. When you look at the matchups, they don't have anyone on the front to be able to put pressure on Dak like the Rams did in the first game. Bruce Irvin just went down with an ACL. And then even on the back end, they don't have enough defensive backs to cover with the second thing that you said that I thought was interesting, that this team isn't explosive. Well, Dak just threw for 450 yards. He ran for 3 touchdowns. He threw for 1 touchdown. And he had 2 guys go over 100. And then Schultz, the tight end, he had 88 yards. So when you look at the makeup of this team, to me, they are explosive, and that's why this will be a shootout. Now, I picked Seattle to win the Super Bowl before the season started. I picked Russell Wilson to be the MVP, and I know a lot of this talk is too early. Yeah, on September 8th, right? So, yeah, all you got to do is go back and see what we talked about on the show, and you'll see the date.
Day. It's a big day for Brandon.
I say that, Coach, because, to me, they are capable of being explosive. The thing that's holding this offense, or the only thing that can hold this offense back is Coach McCarthy. But last week, Dak Prescott showed that he can overcome some of this traditional approach and some of this old school mentality. So I like this game. It's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a shootout.
Can I look at this from a slightly different angle? Because while I disagree with Coach slightly as far as the Cowboys didn't show their explosiveness. Their first 5 possessions against Atlanta went 3 and out, fumble, fake punt, fail, fumble, and they still scored 40. So eventually they got it together offensively. And I know, Coach, whenever we talk Cowboys, we talk Dak, we talk Zeke, we talk the offensive line, all these receivers. But I want to look at the other side of the ball. Because if I'm the Cowboys, I'm not as worried about whether or not I can score 28, 31 points against Seattle.
Yeah.
I am worried, is that going to be anywhere near enough? And not just because Seattle is letting Russ cook as they should, but because Dallas has been totally inept at making any big plays on defense. Coach, I know it's early, they have 2 sacks this year. They only have 5 tackles in the backfield total. They have 1 forced turnover through 2 games. And DeMarcus Lawrence, who is one of the highest paid players in the entire sport, has 5 sacks in his last 18 games. Like, how much of the Cowboys' issues, while we focus on Dak and the offense, are predicated by the fact that their defense cannot slow teams down and can't create those big splash plays to give the offense short fields to put them in advantageous positions.
Well, that's a big issue, and look, they've also struggled stopping the run, and that's when I talk about Seattle having a more balanced approach. That's an area where I think that they can exploit Dallas. And as much as you want to constantly see Russ throw, 2 years ago he was sacked almost 11% of the time, which historically, when you look at quarterbacks with the worst sack rating ever, that was second all time in the history of the historic ones over the course of a career. So, maybe someone had a worse season, but that's an issue. And then they went back to running the ball, and they got more balance, and people said that maybe they were too conservative, but it helped Russell Wilson a lot. And now I think they're trending in that other direction, and that's going to give Dallas's pass rushers an opportunity to make some plays that maybe they shouldn't have, where they're playing the pass 90% of the time or 80% of the time, they're going to get advantages that they wouldn't have if it was balanced. Dallas's defense is going to go through some growing pains because there is more of a difference between what they're doing last year to what they're doing this year versus the offensive side of the ball. There's more continuity offensively from a scheme perspective, so they should be further ahead.
Yeah. So Coach, this Russ let cook narrative, Nick buys into it. It feels like you don't, but it feels.
The other way
what
around.
did I say?
Russ let Russ. It was very bad.
Yeah, you're working the wrong way.
Let Russ cook.
Russ?
Just focus. Just focus more, Wilds.
Okay, here we go. Let Russ cook. Anyways, it seems to be working. They've scored 73 points. He's got 9 touchdowns through the air. Are you saying that if they continue this, it's going to backfire because Dallas has time to just all right, they're not running. We have a chance to tee off on this guy, and it's basically going to be the end of let Russ cook, or as some people call it, cook, let Russ?
Okay, Yoda.
So you're definitely working the broom the wrong way on the let Russ cook aspect. But my point is that when they've taken this approach that Russ is going to win the game exclusively, and that's going to be the focal point. He's a great player, but when they put him in those positions in the past, he's been sacked at a extremely high rate, and that created some problems for him in terms of being behind the sticks, turnovers, self-inflicted wounds, all those things. Last year, they went a little bit the other way, maybe too extreme in running the ball and not giving him enough opportunities. All I'm advocating is you don't go extreme one way or the other. I'm not saying that you need to go back to where you were, but balance is so important. And sometimes you can get so caught up with the excitement of the big play that you lose track of what needs to work collectively and what gives your quarterback and your offense the best chance for longevity. Okay. And in addition, their defense hasn't been very good, and you want to protect those guys as well.
Coach, you know how much I adore you. We just categorically and fundamentally disagree on this point. And I've been told, and I shouldn't, we've got an all-pro, all-time great athlete in Brandon on the show. Coach holds some records for sacks at his school. So the last thing I should ever do is talk about my athletic career. But one quick reference to it. My high school basketball coach once, our team, wait. It has nothing to do with me. It's a coaching point about Coach.
Okay.
Our team started the game off with 7 straight made threes. And the other team called timeout. And our coach said in the huddle, guys, I need you to stop taking them because you're bound to start missing. And that's what I'm hearing from Coach right now. It's working so well, but eventually it's going to turn in the other direction. My argument would be, wait and see if it turns in the other direction. Maybe Russ is going to end up being the all-time greatest cook. Maybe Russ is going to win the MVP Brandon predicted. Maybe Russ is going to throw for 5,000 yards, and we're going to say they should have been doing this all along. Maybe, Coach, you'll end up being right, and he'll be sacked 7 times in a game, but
Jenna,
I would want to see that happen before I reel it back in. I would let Russ continue to cook, Jenna.
Jenna, it's going to come down to 2 things, okay? It's going to come down to who has the ball last and who eliminates the big plays.
I like it.
There you go.
Brandon,
Just those two.
Putting a nice little bow on it.
Time.
Coach, thank you so much. Before that game on Sunday, LeBron's big game tonight. So can the Lakers prove that Game 3 was only a hiccup? We're going to push and we're going to pull. We're talking brooms next. First things first. Oh, we got a great doubleheader on Fox on Sunday. First, the Niners take on the Giants or other regional action. Then Dak and Zeke leading the Cowboys against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. It's America's Game of the Week. Check your local listings for the games in your area or just watch it on the Fox Sports app. It is now time for Stories to Start Your Morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Let's talk some Lakers-Nuggets Game 4. We've been asking all week if these Nuggets can climb back into the series, and all week that question has been met with bewilderment from Nick Wright. But this is a Denver team, Nick, which prides itself on mounting epic comebacks, which feeds off being down in a series, which has done nothing but play the role of underdogs and play it mighty well. So, Nick, I ask again, could the Nuggets gain control of the series with a win tonight?
They couldn't gain control with a win. If you're tied in a series against LeBron James, you're still trailing in it. So, no, they can't gain control, but they can make me anxious for the first time all season. I have never really considered a spot where the Lakers don't end up winning the title. I never believed in the Clippers, and we needed to see the Bucks be regular season Bucks in the playoffs, and they obviously couldn't do it. But if this becomes a best of 3, when you're up against a team who we know Jamal Murray can go for 50, we know that, and we know that Nikola Jokic can have games where he looks like one of the 4 best players in the entire sport, I would come in tomorrow morning nervous for the first time all year, which is one of the reasons why, Brandon, I expect to see a great Lakers performance tonight. Because while the Nuggets might feel like they can come back from 3-1 down, the Lakers know the Nuggets can't come back from 3-1 down against them. So they have an opportunity, do the Lakers, to kind of make up for their really poor effort for the first 40 minutes of Game 3.
Yeah. It sounds like you're nervous now. I think we get caught up in the storylines, Nick, and I think you and I both did, right? We both, a couple of games ago, said that this series was over. Why can't we just change our perspective and give respect when it's due? Like, this team is really good, right? And validation is critical, right? We all want to be validated. So I wanted to call a couple guys around the league, some of my NBA buddies, and I'm like, guys, am I seeing this right? Because I said a couple games ago that this series was over, but what I'm seeing now is these guys answer the bell. I'm seeing these guys do the things that they didn't do in the regular season against the Lakers. The Lakers not swept them, but they took 3 out of 4 games. And the feedback that I got is, hey, Brandon, this is a really good team. They also said, hey, Brandon, they had 1 bad game. And what else did they say? They said, if you take away that AD shot, that now the narrative has changed. Now we're talking about a red-hot Nuggets team and a struggling Lakers team. So why can't we just change the perspective, Wilds? Like, this is just a really good team. Jokic is finally hitting shots all over the court. They dominated him in the paint in the regular season. Jamal Murray feel like he really stepped into his own, and it's not just, inconsistent player. Is he going to drop 50 or is he going to drop 18? The other game, he showed that he's here to stay. And then you had a third guy step up. And that's the difference in why this team can be really good. And if they win this game, you should be nervous.
So, Jenna, we got to do something about Nick lying. Like, he just bakes a little lie into a good point, and then we just move on. Like, what are we talking? If you're trailing against LeBron, if you're tied with LeBron James, you're still trailing.
You're still
no, you're not.
Yeah, that's
They'd be
true.
Tied, buddy.
Confirmed.
No, it's not true. It is fundamentally not true. If you're tied, you're tied. If you're tied, Mike Malone doesn't go into the locker room like, well, it's tied up 2-2, and Jamal was like,
let me ask you a question, Wilds.
I was watching First Things First.
Let me parry it back to you. Hold on, Wilds. Let me parry it back to you, since you're coming right at my throat on what is clearly a factual analysis of this series. Are all 3-1 deficits the same? Is a 3-1 deficit for this Nuggets team, this specific Nuggets team, the same as a 3-1 deficit for any other team in NBA history? Or are they different? Riddle me that, sir.
But wait, can I just jump in? Wilds,
yeah, I feel like, hold on, that is not, exactly. Jenna, just real quick, I'll let you, hold on. But I want the audience to know that was Kevin Wilds realizing, oh, I've been checkmated. Because my whole point is the Nuggets win, they lose, they win. But, oh, it's different for this team. Just like if you're playing LeBron James and you're tied in a series, you're actually trailing. Jenna, go ahead.
No, but Wilds, I was going to put you back up on the pedestal with the point you made earlier, which was such a brilliant one. It is win-win for Denver tonight. If they win, right? If they win, they win. And if they lose, they're down 3-1.
But then it makes him look,
great
bad.
Scenarios for them.
Right.
I know, but it got confusing, Jenna, because if they win, they win. If they lose, they win. But also, if they win, they're no longer tied; they're down. So it's
and if they're tied, they're down.
It's a real.
Can I make a real point? Can I make a real point here about the series just for a moment? There is one very odd thing that's happened with the Lakers in these playoffs. Game 1 against Portland was a back-and-forth game in the fourth quarter. Portland won it. Since then, the Lakers have played one playoff game that had a lead change in the final 10 minutes of the game. Every other game they've played has been decided before crunch time even came close to arriving. The Nuggets, meanwhile, have lived in crunch time for good or for bad throughout this entire postseason. They lost some crunch time games against Utah and then won game 1 and 7 in crunch time against the Clippers. They lost game 3 in crunch time and then obviously won games 5, 6, and 7 in crunch time. They lost game 2 against the Lakers in crunch time. And by the way, game 3 kind of turned into a crunch time game with the late comeback. The Nuggets are, and this matters for the role players, used to games being close and late. The Lakers role players are not. And you saw Kyle Kuzma, who wasn't really up for the moment the other night, and Danny Green ended up getting benched, even though he has all the playoff experience.
That's right.
It's not only that I think the Lakers are going to win tonight, I think it's incumbent on them to be up by double digits throughout the second half. Because one could make an argument, Jenna, that if it's close and late, that this year's Nuggets team is more comfortable and certainly more experienced in that spot than the Lakers team is, despite how game 2 went.
Just say you're nervous, Nick. Just say you're nervous, Nick.
I'm not nervous.
Just say you're nervous.
I'm not nervous.
If the Lakers lose, he will be nervous.
If they win tonight, I will come on tomorrow and be nervous, Jenna. But the Nuggets aren't going to win.
If Denver wins tonight, exactly. All right, let's get back to the New England Patriots now to close out this morning's show. Cam Newton seemingly needing no time at all to get back in football shape and to pick up this Patriots offense. Pats receiver N'Keal Harry, who played with Brady last season and struggled, and now with Cam this season and seems to be off to a great start, said this about the two. They're two very different situations, being Brady and Cam Newton. So, Brandon, I ask you, is Cam Newton proving that the Patriots made the right decision moving on from Tom Brady?
Jen, I'm sorry. I think this whole conversation is ridiculous. I think we're talking about this situation as if, you know, they went and traded for Cam Newton. Cam Newton was literally on the streets. No team called. He said it himself in a podcast with Odell Beckham Jr. He said, man, the reason why I have this chip on my shoulder and I'm going to be this beast this year is because nobody called me. Everybody passed up on me. And when my agent finally reached out to me and said the Patriots are interested, I was super excited. So, look, Cam Newton is playing well. Cam Newton has shown that he can beat you both ways, running the ball and throwing the ball. We also know that Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels, they're going to put their players and they're going to put Cam Newton in the best position. We're seeing that. This is a scary team. But to then bring this back to, well, Tom Brady moving on to Tampa, was it a good decision, bad decision? I think it was a bad decision. Like, how do you walk away from the GOAT? You don't do that, like, especially when the guy can still play. Get him some pieces. All he had was Edelman last year. You didn't give him any help. So, of course, he's going to have a down year. And I know, Nick, you want to go into all the stats, but there's a few guys that play sports that write their own ticket out of town, and Tom Brady should be one of them.
But Brandon, he did. He put his house on the market in August. And the whole rest of the year, everybody knew he was gone. And when he left, he was gone. So the idea that, like, we have to relitigate who got divorced from who, like, I think it was just a mutual end of a relationship, and so be it. And I'm one of the few Patriots fans, like, I'm not a Bucs fan. Sorry. Remember we were, like, kicking around, like, hey, wow, is he going to like the Gronkaneers? And I'm like, no, you know what? I don't. I don't like the uniforms. I don't like the team. I don't particularly like Bruce Arians' Kangol hats, to be honest with you. That's Sam Jackson's thing. I'm sorry, but it's true. Here's what I do like, Brandon. The way that Cam Newton is talking in the locker room, when he was posed the question, hey, do you need more weapons? He's like, nope. I'll say this, the answers are in that locker room, simple and plain. We got Little Bud, Doughboy, Highway 11, My Germs. We're good to go. And let me rewind that just to make it in plain English. Mary Bird, N'Keal Harry, Julian Edelman, and Jacoby Myers. He believes in this guy. And all last year, we had to sit here and listen to Tom Brady in sort of subtle ways, Nick, take low-key shots and be like, oh, the defense, the special teams, like, and he was pouted about Antonio Brown. It was a mess. We're in a much better spot. I'm very happy that we have Cam Newton.
And if only we could see how a good quarterback could do with those awful weapons the Patriots had last year, and if only we could see how Tom Brady would do with great weapons. Oh, wait, we can. And it turns out those weapons in New England aren't that bad. And it turns out those weapons in Tampa are only as good as the guy pulling the trigger, at least through a couple games. But here's the last point I'll make. Brandon I understand the point, which is they got lucky. This wasn't their plan. Sometimes the best thing you can be in life is lucky. I made, via our friends at Fox Bet, drove across the George Washington Bridge last week into New Jersey, made the single largest sports wager of my life by a massive margin. That Chiefs-Ravens parlay, or teaser, pardon me. That came down to Harrison Butker making consecutive 58-yarders. I got so lucky, Jen, I had no business winning it. I feel like the smartest man alive. That's how Belichick should feel. Even if he's lucky, he ends up being the smartest man alive.